Is the Arizona Cardinals offense going to be in 2022? I've got a ranking system. I'll show it to you. Also, is Cliff Kingsbury really the fourth best head coach in the NFL with the average roster? I'm going to have the mastermind behind the wizardry that has him so. Locked on Cardinals. Here we go.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everybody. Locked On Cardinals. Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On Easy Cards. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks. Thank you, everybody who's along this journey with me. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. Free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by Blue Nile. Make your moments sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement as well. Use code LOCKEDON at checkout. As always, jam show today. How good is this Arizona Cardinals offense going to be? I'm going to rank the top position players on the offensive side of the ball as a lock to be great this year, an almost lock to be great this year, and a question mark. It's going to be fascinating. I'm going to start with the locks in the first segment, the pseudo locks and question marks in the second segment. Then Connor McQuiston from Pro Football Focus, the mastermind behind the wizardry and sorcery that has this graph right here that has Cliff Kingsbury as the fourth best coach in the NFL with an average roster. I'm going to ask him what the hell he's talking about. I'm going to say, what the hell are you talking about? That'll be in the third segment. Super excited to get him on. Double major in math and physics from Michigan. Smarter dude than me. The Arizona Cardinals offense is going to be fun as hell in 2022. We know that. We know it's going to be fun. And with Kyler Murray as the maestro, he's got weapons. He's got weapons. I mean, they've checked almost all the boxes on the offensive side of the ball. If you listened to my podcast yesterday, if not, check it out on YouTube and anywhere else you get your podcasts, Apple, Google Play, etc., free and available. I think that they should sign another wide receiver. I highlighted Julio Jones because of the first 6-week stretch. It's difficult. The Cardinals can't just afford to not have all hands on deck at the wide receiver position with DeAndre Hopkins out. So I still think there's a little bit of work to do to just really just add to the depth of the offense. But that aside, lock, pseudo lock, and question mark. I'll start with Kyler Murray lock. Okay, that's easy. James Conner. I'll say pseudo lock to be a star this year. Last year was the first year that he really did that. Sure, he had a great year in Pittsburgh the first year Le'Veon Bell left. You know, you're in that weird age at running back where you look and say, you know what, he deserved the money that he got, and he should only be touching the ball 65% of the time. He should only get a 60 to 65% share of the touches to make sure that he's available for all 17 weeks and into the playoffs, hopefully. Last year with DeAndre Hopkins out, they had to go to him even more. He broke down a little bit. Chase Edmonds not being there didn't help. Having Darrell Williams and having or Joel Williams and having Benjamin there for a little bit of depth will help. I think Darrell Williams is going to be better and it's going to get more touches than people think because people remember, high double-digit touchdowns last year for James Conner. Was the most important offensive player, not named Kyler Murray, for the success of the Arizona Cardinals last year. He doesn't need to replicate that this year, and I think that's what needs to be remembered. So that's why I said pseudo-lock and not absolute bona fide lock. DeAndre Hopkins, when he comes back, is a lock. He just is. I know there's going to be injury concerns. He's a wide receiver one until he's not, and he still is until he's not. So he's a lock. Okay. This is where it gets interesting. Zach Ertz is, I'm going to say, a lock because he's got help with Trey McBride. Max Williams is going to be back, and all he really has to do is run routes and catch footballs. He's large. 6'5". He's going to be a great red zone threat. We saw he still has giddy up. I think that was one of the better, even though it was $30 million over 3 years. It's not, I think it's like $20 million guaranteed. We'll see what happens after this year. If there's going to be restructuring or if they're going to move on from, I don't know. But I think it's still safe to say that our boy Zach Ertz from Stanford is a lock to be a star for this Arizona Cardinals offense in 2022. And we haven't even got to the rest. I mean, Rodney Hudson is going to be a lock. Okay. So you have Kyler Murray, you have DeAndre Hopkins, you have Rodney Hudson, and you have Zach Ertz as your locks on offense. I kind of teased James Conner. I should have waited for the second segment like I said I was going to. I will extrapolate. That's a good word. I'll extrapolate on that in the second segment. But that's 4 locks on offense out of 11 starters. Pretty good. It's pretty good. 4 locks to be stars in 2022. We'll see what Cliffy Baby and Kyler Murray et al. Will be able to do. Coming up next, the pseudo locks and the question marks is where it's going to get a little weird. There's going to be a question mark next to a name that you thought would be a pseudo lock and vice versa. I'm excited to talk about it. That's next. Locked on Cardinals first. One thing that's always a lock, if you want to lock down an engagement, if you want to lock down your wife's birthday, BlueNile.com's got you covered. I talk about this every time. I take this copy that they give me and I flip it because, yes, BlueNile.com is one of the best purveyors of jewelry out there. Okay. They're handcrafted to perfection. Engagement rings, they're all one of a kind. Okay. Like the diamond shape and clarity, you can choose all of it on your own. Okay. To choose your own adventure. The important part here is if you don't know what you're doing, they've got 24/7 support, chat or phone. Like, listen, I have this much, help. I want to get this, help. And they're there for you. That level of service is pseudo unmatched. You know, it's a question mark. It's not a lock around the industry. That's why BlueNile.com is so impressive. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. That includes engagement, man. It's a podcast exclusive. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com today. How good will the Arizona Cardinals offense be in 2022? Should be pretty damn good. It'll be damn fun to watch. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. If you want to leave a review on the podcast, cool. I'm just happy that you're here. I'm happy that you watch. I'm happy that you listen. I've been doing this since 2017. Been in radio in Phoenix since 2012. It's been a wild ride, and I'm very happy that I was given the opportunity in 2017 to take over the reins at Locked On Arizona Cardinals. The locks are in. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Rodney Hudson, and Zach Ertz. I think he's going to be a lock to be a star in 2022. I think you'll see an uptick. Obviously, he only played half the season with the Cardinals last year, a little bit over half the season, but I think you're going to see an uptick. I think you're going to see 7 or 8 touchdowns. I think you're going to see a lot of yards receiving. And there's going to be a lot of mouths to feed, but every time there's a crowded room, the cream always rises to the top. The best always rises to the top. And we'll see. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Obviously, this is barring injury and anything like that, but when DeAndre Hopkins is in, he's a wide receiver 1, lock. Kyler Murray, lock. Rodney Hudson, perennial lock. And Zach Ertz, I think, is going to be a sneaky lock. You can look at him as a pseudo lock, but I think he's going to be a lock to be a star in 2022. All right, the pseudo locks. I alluded to it in the first segment, James Conner. I don't see him replicating the numbers from last year, and I think that's a good thing. If the Cardinals' offense can improve and he regresses in its touchdown total, personally for him and for fantasy football owners, not great. For the overall betterment and health of the Arizona Cardinals organization, that's an A+ win. That's an A+ win. So because of that, I'm going to say he's a pseudo lock. Trey McBride. That's a question mark. And the question mark is out of his control. Usage. How often will he be on the field? How much are they going to use him as a wide receiver? How much are they going to use him as an inline block, like as a blocker? How are they going to utilize their second round pick out of Colorado State, who looks to be a George Kittle clone? He looks to be a guy that's going to make an immediate impact because he's got the body to do so. He's got the hands. He can block. Like, is it this year or is it next year for him? That's why it's a question mark. Rondelle Moore, the biggest question mark on the roster. Rondelle Moore is the biggest question mark on the roster because we don't know. Health aside, we don't know what he is. We know what he's capable of because we saw flashes last year. We saw some oh my God moments, as I said, but we also saw him completely disappear. I don't know if that's because Cliff Kingsbury didn't know how to use him. I don't know. I don't know the root. Maybe he just wasn't ready to play at the NFL level yet. Maybe. We don't know. But the big win here is that he stays on the field. That's what you hope, is that he'll be on the field. He'll be healthy. Obviously, you never want to see anybody get hurt, but also for the leveling up of the Arizona Cardinals offense, it's going to be pretty important for him to be healthy and to be ready to play on game day. AJ Green, pseudo lock. Now, this is on a curve, but it's a pseudo lock. AJ Green is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay? He's one of the best wide receivers we've ever seen. First ballot, maybe lose. I don't know what happens with the Hall of Fame anymore. But he is going to catch 70 balls. He's going to have 700 or 800 yards or 900 yards receiving and 5 or 6 touchdowns. He can do it in his sleep. And with a second year with Kyler Murray, remember, AJ Green was a safety blanket when DeAndre Hopkins went out from the wide receiver position. And I feel like people completely undervalue the importance of AJ Green. I know he's not what he was. I know that he didn't turn around when Kyler Murray threw him the ball on Thursday Night Football. Spoiler alert, that's not why they lost the rest of the year. That was one guy that had played 6.5 games up to that point with the young quarterback. That's what that was. It could have been on Kyler Murray. You know? AJ Green pseudo lock to be exactly what he was last year, this year. And he may actually improve if DeAndre Hopkins is on the field. Like, if he gets one-on-one coverage, remember, he's 6'4", he's got great hands, and he's great at 50-50 balls. I don't know what else you want from an aging vet who stayed with the Arizona Cardinals when he probably could have got a little bit of cheese elsewhere. Hollywood Brown. I told you there was a surprise or two. This is the biggest question mark from a wide receiver one. Like I said, Rondelle Moore was, but let me put it this way. This is the biggest question mark with the most immediate impact on the roster. Yes, Kyler Murray and he have history. That's great. I don't say that sarcastically. He put up pretty bonkers numbers in Baltimore when they have one receiver and one tight end. And, you know, they were running the ball a lot, run first, before last year. And if Lamar Jackson doesn't go out, he eclipses all of his numbers. I know all of that. We don't know if it's going to work in this offense, and we don't know if it's going to work right away. Like, it's going to work in this offense. But if you're going to tell me that he is going to be a bona fide wide receiver one star next year, without a doubt, I don't see it yet. I hope that's true. But there's too many, you know, there's too many situations that are unmeasurable at this point. We haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen anything. And this is not by any stretch saying that he's not going to be a great player at all. I'm just saying that if you tell me that he's a wide receiver one right out the gate, I'm going to want to see it first. Got to prove it in this system. Prove it that you're more than just a deep threat. Prove it that you have drops in the end zone under control, which he didn't in Baltimore. Talk with Kevin Ostreicher, Locked on Ravens, a couple times. So he's got a case of the dropsies, and he dropped wide open touchdown passes. That's not to say it's going to happen. No player, no human being is perfect. That's not the point of this exercise. The point of me saying that he's a question mark going into 2022 is he has the most pressure on him to perform because of how he was acquired. And when there were a lot of other needs elsewhere, Steve Keim chose to trade for Kyler Murray's wide receiver one in college when he could have drafted his wide receiver one, CeeDee Lamb, a couple of years prior. He went and traded for Hollywood Brown. So you know what? This is the move to get the offense over the top. And let's hope it works. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Coming up next. I mean, this dude is way smarter than I am. Okay. And he's a guy that he put together this damn graph that has Cliff Kingsbury as the fourth best quarterback in the NFL, fourth best head coach in the NFL when given an average roster. He did the math, he did the numbers. He's going to explain it to us next. Connor McQuiston from Pro Football Focus is going to join me next. Locked On Cardinals. First, Built Bar, caramel brownie. You can take your Milky Way and you can shove it, man. I say that in the nicest way possible because Built Bars taste like candy bars. They're covered in chocolate. They've got 4 grams of sugar, especially this one, caramel brownie, 4 grams of sugar, 130 calories, 17 grams of protein. You don't need dessert. You don't need to eat a 7-course breakfast to get the protein you need. 6 bites, man. These things are incredible. Truly, Built Bars are excellent. They are. The company's great. The product is great. They're good every single time, and they've got a bevy of flavors. But caramel brownie is the one they're featuring right now. You should get some. Let me read it again. Okay, 130 calories, 17 grams of protein, 4 grams of sugar. For those that are lifters, people that know what macros are that I just learned about a couple months ago, the macros are unreal with the caramel brownie Built Bar. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, final segment, Locked On Cardinals. Alex Clancy here. This is, I'm nervous about talking to this person that I'm bringing in. I've teased it all show. This guy is, let's say he's smart. He's got the analytics down pat, and he's ruining my narrative about Cliff Kingsbury all in one. So why the hell not just bring him onto the damn show and make me look like an idiot? That's what I like to do best here. Connor McQuiston, Pro Football Focus, joining me here. Dude, first of all, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. No problem. Glad to be on.
Okay, so go blue. Are you double major in math
go
and
blue,
physics?
Baby.
Do I have that right? Double
Yes,
major in math and physics?
I graduated a semester early too, if you really want to pump me up. But I'm just very stubborn. That's all that means. I'm just extremely stubborn.
Great. And I was on the Van Wilder 7-year plan. You're probably too young to even know what Van Wilder is. Okay, so
I think my mom makes that.
Oh, yeah. I'm never getting Trevor Sikkema's advice on anything again. Okay, so all joking aside, you put together a chart of sorcery and wizardry that has Cliff Kingsbury ranked the 4th best head coach in the NFL when coaching an average roster. Do I have that right? Because I don't want to misrepresent.
That is the interpretation, yes.
Okay, great. So this is what it looks like for those that are watching on YouTube right now. He's got Cliff ahead of Kyle Shanahan, ahead of Sean McVay, and ahead of 27 or 28 other NFL head coaches in this specific graph. Can you explain to me, before I talk real world, you talk numbers, and we meet together, how the hell how did this happen? What am I saying? How did this happen?
Okay, so the way I did these rankings is, so when you rank head coaches from an analytical perspective, you have to do 2 things. 1, you have to pick a number at how good that coach's roster is, and then 2, you have to pick a number to say, okay, this is how good the coach is. Both of these are incredibly difficult, and there is no right answer. Everything is a little bit wrong in a different way. So the way I went about saying how good the coach's roster is, I looked at every starter's salary numbers. But the logic and this sounds a little funky, but the logic behind this is, if I have 2 quarterbacks in the same offseason, one signs for $50 million, another signs for $30, the quarterback who signs a $50 million contract is probably better. This was applied across the board to all positions on offense and defense. The target variable I chose, the number I'm saying this is how good a coach is I chose points scored and points allowed over the course of the season. And the specific model I chose allowed me to estimate this is the range of how big the effect the coach has on this specific number. And given those effects both on points allowed and points scored, I can then translate that into wins using this thing called Pythagorean wins. That's a lot of syllables. Basically, I'm using salaries to say how good the players are, and then I'm looking about how many then I estimate how many points a coach adds on offense and defense.
So it's kind of a win above replacement with coaches loosely.
Yeah, that's the idea behind it. I wouldn't describe it exactly as WAR, mainly because WAR is a much more robust thing, both from PFF and both in the baseball sense. The main issue with this model is, of course, if a player is performing above or below their salary level, then that coach gets undue credit or criticism. Cliff Kingsbury and Mike Tomlin are the big examples of this, because Ben Roethlisberger made a ton of money, but was real bad the past 2 years. So the offense wasn't as good as the model expected. So Mike Tomlin goes way down. Kyler obviously has been great. He's been one of the better quarterbacks in the league, but he's playing on a rookie deal. I do have an indicator for if a player's on his rookie contract, but he's been better than you would expect of someone on a rookie contract. So, Cliff gets undue. I still think Cliff is a good coach, but I think his specific placement at number 4 is probably a bit rich from my blood. If we look at for those of you on YouTube, you look at the specific graphs, the error bars and the placement between the coaches between 3 and 11, so that's between Andy Reid and Sean McVay, those are basically indistinguishable. So while yes, Cliff Kingsbury in this way is specifically number 4, he's somewhere within that second tier of coaches, at least in my opinion. So that's your Mike Vrabels, your Kyle Shanahan's, your Matt LaFleur's. So I do still think he is a good coach, but 4 specifically, it's a bit rich for my blood. That's just how the numbers turned out.
Connor McQuiston, Pro Football Focus, joining me here. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Follow him at ConnorMCQ5. That sheds. Okay, so that's interesting. So in my more look at graph, yell at graph brain,
of course, as you should,
and for how you described it, you can only account for a rookie scale deal so much because rookies aren't supposed to be as good as veterans in theory.
Exactly.
So that's why maybe Cliff got, if you did this graph in 2023 and everything stayed the same and Kyler Murray had gotten paid, where do you think he would have and I know this is unfair to ask somebody who's so analytically driven as you, where would he land on 1 to 32 if Kyler Murray was making his second contract money, say $45 million a year?
Yeah. So if he was making the second contract money and we assume the rest of the Cardinals offense is still relatively not super paid well, I know D-Hop is paid great, but across the offensive line, and Zach Ertz has a solid contract. But other than that, it's not a very well paid offense. So the model sees that and doesn't think very highly of it. Take that what you will. Also, probably a little bit of the same idea. But if Kyler Murray just has a veteran contract that he deserves and everything else stays the same, he's still probably in that top tier, but he's probably closer between 8 to 12.
Got it. Now, and one last question here before I get you out of here, because it's fascinating. I joke about the analytics, but I mean it's fascinating. And Pro Football Focus
sometimes it is very silly.
But I talk about if Kyler Murray should get traded because I have to. You're doing stuff just in an analytic sense. It's the same kind of thing, just to see what happens. It makes total sense, and yours has a lot more merit than mine with that specific random topic. Do you do these blind? Or do you're okay, Cliff Kingsbury is, and then let's see where he is, or it's you assign a number, you assign whatever. Do you assign a number to both of those things? Are you going blind, or is it okay, this is Cliff Kingsbury's ranking here?
Yeah. So in terms of the ranking, that's just ordering it based on the applicable model. But in terms of do I have a set idea in my head of where coaches should end up? Yeah, I mean, if Bill Belichick if I'm making a list of best coaches and Bill Belichick isn't one, I'm throwing the model out. Something's terrible.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, but in terms of a smaller things, which Cliff Kingsbury ends up better than we think he might, then that says something interesting about him, and I think I can explain the outlier relative to what the John Q public would expect to put him. So I can explain why that is. And I'd say he's a good offensive coach, which I think it's a pretty safe thing to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and that's great. And hopefully down the road, and you can, again, follow him at ConnorMCQ5 on Twitter, Connor McQuiston from Pro Football Focus, some of the smartest football minds in so many different ways over there. Again, obviously, Trevor Sikkema is a real good friend of the show, formerly of Locked On Podcast Network. Connor, really appreciate you taking some time and explaining what the hell wizardry, what did I call it? I think I called it sorcery with you. I'm Yeah, now, but here's the thing, though, and this is great. You know what? I've been waiting for Cliff to prove me wrong week 1 through week 17. I've been waiting for it. And I still rest on my laurel that he has never won an important NFL game. He hasn't. That he's had to win, he hasn't. He didn't clinch a playoff spot for themselves in 2021. Sean McVay had to do it. Now, that's kind of a negative way to look at it. But when you look at this graph, it obviously gives people pause. It's like, you know what? Maybe there's more in here than Alex Clancy of Locked On Cardinals is giving Cliff credit for. And maybe I will frame myself as such until, there's another model that comes out that says, he should be a mascot and not a head coach. I'll be waiting for that. Connor McQuiz of Pro Football Focus, dude. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been great.
Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I'll talk to you tomorrow.